Hello and welcome to Graduate Student Tax Information for U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and resident aliens for tax purposes for the 2018 tax year. This webinar is sponsored by UChicago Department's Office of the University Bursar, Shared Services Payroll, UChicago Grad, and Health Promotion and Wellness. Before we begin, this workshop is here to provide information to students solely for informational purposes and is not intended to be tax or legal advice. The ultimate responsibility of tax filing lies with the tax filer. The purpose of our information today is to offer a sense of information and comfort to the tax preparer in making those tax filing choices. The webinar is organized in 4 sections. These are 4 steps to successful tax preparation. We will begin by reviewing your income sources, reviewing tax payments made and tax forms received, reviewing filing requirements and common deductions, and finally how to file and where to get assistance. We will pause for a knowledge check after each section. Step 1 in filing your taxes is important to review your income sources. When you are reviewing your income sources, you are looking to determine if income is taxable or non-taxable. As a student, you should be reviewing all stipends, scholarships, and fellowships awarded to you in the tax year. And also as a student, you may have received a travel stipend or reimbursement. Taxable versus non-taxable income. Taxable income examples include wages and salary, bonuses, awards, and fringe benefits, self-employment income, or investment or foreign income, and also reimbursement of expenses. All income in these categories are taxable. Some non-taxable, non-reportable income examples are financial assistance through student loans, and some military or disability payments to individuals. For more information and details on income sources, please review IRS Publication 525, Taxable and Non-Taxable Income. As a graduate student, you may have received a stipend, scholarship, or fellowship during your education. If you received this type of funding, all or part may be taxable, even if you do not receive a tax form. Generally, the definitions are the following. A scholarship aids you in the pursuit of studies by offering assistance with tuition and fees. Stipends usually offer aid in offsetting living expenses while studying. And finally, a fellowship often aids an individual in the pursuit of a specific study or research. If you are a candidate for a degree, you generally may include any income you received for assistance for tuition and fees, books, supplies, and equipment required of your courses. Generally, you may not exclude any income or any part of the grant used for other purposes, such as room and board. The rule of thumb is you may not exclude any reimbursements you are receiving for living expenses you would accrue when you were not a student. If you're not sure how much funding you received in the calendar year 2018 from UChicago, you may access your financial aid information in the My Financial Aid section of the myuchicago.edu portal. As a reminder, the academic year is different than the tax year. The academic year at UChicago spans from summer through spring. The tax year is date-driven and covers transactions between January 1 and 12/31 of 2018. Remember, scholarship and stipend fellowship also includes funding from outside the university. So if you have received awards from outside agencies or nonprofits, you must include these as well. For more information and instructions on how to file this income, go to Tax Topic 421 on the IRS website. Finally, as a graduate student, you may have received a reimbursement for travel or a stipend to attend a conference or related research. Reimbursements are not reportable to the IRS as income if you can document that the reimbursement is one of the following. It directly supports a faculty member's project or research program, is related to presenting at a conference, is an integral part of your degree work, or is official university business. There is a process at the university to certify this as student business related travel. There is a form located on the Financial Services website, and this form must be submitted at the time of the reimbursement request. It is valid if the stipend was issued in error of reimbursement, and certification can be made by a faculty member. This form can be submitted at this time if you did not submit it at the time of reimbursement. Now let's pause for a knowledge check. All income is taxable income. True or false? And the answer is false. All income should be recorded and evaluated as taxable or non-taxable. Once you have reviewed all of your income sources, you must now review if you've made tax payments and also what types of tax forms have you received. As a UChicago graduate student, this table shows you the types of tax forms you may receive in your tax filing. The first one is a W-2 wage and tax statement. This covers wages and salary from any employer that you worked for during the tax year. Your employer is required to submit this form to you and the IRS by January 31st. The second form is a 1099 miscellaneous income statement. Often these are issued by the provider of the income when it is not a regular source of employment, but a small payment. Some examples are legal fees, settlements, or services provided. The provider of this income must submit this to you and the IRS by January 31st. The 1098-T tuition charge statement illustrates payment made for qualified charges in the current tax year. The UChicago Office of the Bursar issues these forms to all students by January 31st. This form is also available on the myuchicago.edu portal. The 1099-E student loan interest statement is given to all who have paid student loan interest during the tax year. The lender who holds your loan is required to forward this to you for tax filing by January 31st. And finally, the 1095-B insurance coverage statement. This illustrates that you did in fact have healthcare coverage for the tax year. Your healthcare provider or carrier is required to submit this form to you by January 31st of the tax year. Domestic students will not receive a tax form for stipend, scholarship, or fellowship payments. The IRS considers these types of income to be self-reported, and you must remit taxes and include these in income. Self-reported income quarterly payments. This is the process utilized to pay taxes on self-reported income. Federal and state tax law requires individuals to pay estimated tax payments on self-reported income. If you will owe more than $1,000 in federal taxes and $500 for Illinois state taxes, you should make estimated quarterly payments. If you do not pay estimated tax payments when required to do so, the IRS in the state of Illinois may assess a penalty for late taxes. The process to make quarterly payments begins with the Form 1040-ES. The 1040-ES is available at the federal and state level. Each year they are available January 1 for the upcoming tax year. And that is when you should be estimating your taxes for that given year. Forms include due dates and explanations of how to estimate the quarterly amounts owed. For more information, you may consult IRS Publication 505. Now we will pause for a knowledge check. Fact: you will receive a tax form for all of your taxable income. Is this true or false? The answer is false. There are types of income you will receive a tax form and those where you will not receive one. It is up to the taxpayer to determine if and how to report it according to the IRS guidelines. Step 3. Review filing requirements and common deductions. In this section, we will review if you have a filing requirement, the choices between itemizing and using the standard deduction, and some common deductions that graduate students utilize. To determine if you have a filing requirement, most domestic and resident alien students use income as a main factor. To determine your filing status, then you determine what that income level is and if you have to file. So for example, if you are filing as a single filer, if you had less than $12,000 in taxable income, you do not have a filing requirement. If you're married filing separately and you had more than $5 of taxable income, you do have a filing requirement. Often students ask if they are still claimed as a dependent, do they have a filing requirement? The answer is yes, you do need to review for filing requirement. The income levels are different for single dependents and married dependents, and you will determine that based on your filing status if you have a filing requirement. For more information on income levels for filing requirements, you may consult IRS Publication 501. New this year is the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act for the 2018 filing year. This new tax law is in effect and the standard deduction has been doubled. Many of you will determine whether you are going to itemize your tax return or utilize this newly increased standard deduction. For more information, we recommend you consult the IRS website. A common deduction, if you choose to do so, is the Earned Income Credit. To qualify for the Earned Income Credit, you must have earned income from employment, self-employment, or another source. To determine if you qualify for an Earned Income Credit, you may utilize IRS Publication 596. Also, as a student, we recommend that you review all general education-related deductions that you may qualify for. These are all listed in IRS Publication 970, Tax Benefits for Education. The ACA Affordable Care Act provision is in effect for the 2018 tax year. You must determine if you had coverage for the entire tax year. If you did not have coverage, you should determine if you have an individual responsibility payment due on your tax return. The coverage should extend for the tax year. So the coverage would extend through winter 2018 to fall 2018. You would have a responsibility if there's a gap in any of that enrollment. The 1098-T tuition charge statement for graduate students are only eligible for the Lifetime Learning Credit, which is a non-refundable tax credit. This reports all payments for tuition and qualified expenses for the 2018 tax year paid by you or on your behalf. It also lists scholarships and grants or tax-exempt funds dispersed to your student account and cannot be deducted. As a general rule, you may only deduct payments you paid out of pocket, including student loans. Tax forms and copies of the 1098-T online are available at myuchicago.edu. To see if you qualify for this tax credit, you may use the online calculator on the IRS website. Finally, those of you who have paid student loan interest during the 2018 tax year may qualify for a student loan interest deduction. Students who are continuing to make payments towards previous student loans and are paying interest only may be eligible for this deduction. A qualified student loan is a loan you took out solely to pay for benefits for qualified higher education expenses. If you paid $600 or more of interest on a qualified student loan, you should receive a 1098-E student loan interest statement from the entity or lender to which you paid the interest. We will now pause for a knowledge check. Everyone itemizes their deductions on their tax returns. True or false? The answer is false. It is up to the taxpayer to evaluate how they want to file. New regulations may change how you have filed in the past. Review both itemized and standard deductions scenarios. Finally, we arrive at step 4. How to file and where to get assistance. We will cover tax returns, where to obtain assistance, and tax information resources. If you have any taxable income that qualifies under your filing limit, you must file a tax return. New for 2018, everyone will be using the Form 1040. There are updated schedules if itemizing. Also new this year, there are no personal exemptions for withholding, and the tax brackets have been updated. It is important that you review a lot of your choices that you have done in the past to see how this interprets your taxes for this new tax year. On the Form 1040, when you're reporting stipend, scholarship, or fellowship income, you must enter SCH with the taxable amount to the space left of the wages, salaries, tips line of your tax return to the left of the box. If you receive a Form W-2, in addition, with amounts received as payment for services under a scholarship, include the amount in Box 1 of the Form W-2 on the wages, salaries, and tips of your tax return. It is important that you identify the total amount that is from scholarship when you're filing your tax return. For more information on how to distinguish this income, you may refer to Publication 970. If you failed to report self-reported income in previous tax years, you can correct it by completing an amended tax return. Only use an amended tax return if you filed a previous tax return for the calendar year. You should file an amended tax return is under 1040X and Illinois Form 1040X. If you have not filed for a previous year, you may use the original tax return for that tax year. The IRS offers many free resources for tax filers. You may utilize also their free file tax assistance software, which will assist you in walking you through some of these tax filing situations and offers you guidance. Also too, the website, which we've referred to throughout the presentation, hosts a multitude of information, and there is a local office here in Chicago. Also, if you have questions for the Illinois State Revenue Office, their website also has lots of information, and they have a local office for resources. The IRS also sponsors a program referred to as Volunteers in Tax Assistance, and they offer free tax filing assistance for anyone with an income less than $55,000 annually. In order to find the nearest VITA site, you may call this 800 number or use the online locator on the IRS website. Over 10 sites within a 10-mile radius, and including Harold Washington Library and Robert Morris College, exist in and around Chicago. Finally, if you do wish to utilize paid resources, we have some recommendations for you when seeking these out. Just remember first that not all certified public accountants specialize in income tax returns. To find more information on a CPA, you may utilize these professional websites. Also, for tax assistance, individuals may be called an enrolled agent. These individuals only focus on taxes and trained or work directly for the IRS. Enrolled agents may work for themselves or in a CPA firm. To locate one, you may go to the following website. There are also many national tax preparer chains that offer you assistance and work best for simple, straightforward returns. Also, you may choose to purchase online software yourself to complete your tax return. If you do choose to use a professional tax preparer, make sure they've done student tax returns in the past, give you an estimate up front, and will stand by their work and provide audit assistance. Now we will pause for a knowledge check. Fact: there are many ways to file your taxes. True or false? The answer is true. It is up to the taxpayer to evaluate how they want to file. Manually, electronic, paid tax preparer, the choice is ultimately yours. In filing your taxes, here are some recommendations for the future. Remember to keep a file of all scholarship payments and make notes of types of payments so you know what forms to expect at year end. Keep track of your payments towards qualified charges and expense deductions. Make estimated tax payments using the 1040-ES form if required. And always remember to visit taxes.uchicago.edu for more information as a UChicago graduate student. We thank you for listening today, and we wish you luck in your tax filing this year.